Welcome to our annual Christmas Eve candlelight service from my home and yours. It is so wonderful for us to be joining together in community on this very special night. This year has shined a light on the importance of the three things we've come here tonight for: community, tradition, and ritual. We've learned that our communities reach past our physical connections to each other. Our traditions can adapt, and our rituals, like lighting our chalice, connect us in our divine tapestry of community. So, regardless of where we are tonight, let us gather together, adapting our traditions, and light a chalice on this Christmas Eve night. Our chalice lighting words today come from the Reverend David Breeden. Through this Advent season, this season of waiting, we have asked for patience, light, peace, and love. Now that the waiting is over, now that which was to be has come, we light this flame of hope. We commit ourselves to patience, to working to dispel darkness, to working for peace. We commit ourselves to love and to hope. We light this flame as an end, as a beginning, and as a symbol of the eternal now. Our reading tonight comes from the legendary minister and religious educator, Sophia Lyon-Fahs. For so the children come. For so the children come, and so they have been coming. Always the same way they come, born the seed of people. No angels herald their beginnings. No prophets predict their future courses. No wise men see a star to show where to find the babe that will save humankind. Yet each night a child is born is a holy night. Fathers and mothers sitting beside their children's crib feel the glory in the sight of life's new beginning. They ask, where and how will this new life end, or will it ever end? Each night a child is born is a holy night, a time for singing, a time for wondering, a time for worshiping. Now, as a special treat on this Christmas Eve, we have a visit from Ghosts of Choirs Past with a choir performance of Joy to the World from our Lessons and Carols worship service in 2018. As an added bonus, you will find the words to this hymn right at the bottom of your screen. Please sing along with us, but remember to share the gift of song with only those in your household, and please stay muted.
It is so good to be together tonight. Please join me now in a spirit of prayer or meditation. As we gather tonight in a season of isolation and deep worry, when holiday cheer seems to be a million miles away, we close our eyes and breathe in the presence of the one who is never far from us, the oneness that is never far from us, the ground of our being, the eternal comforter who holds us all in their hands. We seek a blessing and we open our eyes and see it before us, the faces of those who are in community with us, those who are here with us to comfort us and themselves. We reach out with our hearts to feel those who are celebrating with us all around the world. We reach out and find our beloveds, our most cherished ones, whom we miss and love, to whom we must show our love this year by staying apart. We reach out too to all those who find themselves in Christmas's story this year. Teenagers who find themselves caring for children before they're ready. Undocumented people going the long way around to avoid Herod's gaze. People working on Christmas, even through the night, to keep the wheels of society going or to avoid the rumbling of their own hungry bellies. Children of God who are utterly at the mercy of the systems of oppression, yet are richly favored and powerful beyond measure, who carry the future in their tiny hands. We send our love to those who are in hospitals, in hospices, in nursing care, to those who are caring for those without breath, without company, without hope. We send our love to those who will never fill the seats empty at this year's holiday table, for each one lost to COVID left behind a family and a life. We pray for you, Comforter, to give them peace. We give thanks for our own life, for our own breath, a gift that can't be wrapped in paper, yet can be shared with others and with the world. And we listen to hear what the angels would have us look for, what journeys we may be called to undertake this year in the everlasting struggle for justice. With thanks for the blessing, for the comfort, for the companionship, and for the challenge, we say, Amen.
'Twas the night before Christmas, and all through the parish were gathered the meek and also the garish, but they really weren't in church this eve. It was hard for everyone to conceive that instead of in church, they were stuck in their room watching the service by virtue of Zoom. They all shook their heads and wondered why us? Tradition was stopped by the COVID virus. They'd rather be out and packed in their pews with family and friends and other UUs. Now, if truth be known, they were all kind of grouchy, following the rules established by Fauci. Quarantine, lockdown, shelter in place, wrap that mask across your face, never come within 6 feet of anyone whom you might meet. And if your work is deemed essential, that's slightly less than presidential, be sure to line up really fast for vaccinations while they last. They worried about Santa this difficult year. He might be in quarantine and never appear. This Christmas might be the very first time that Santa sends gifts through Amazon Prime. But he'll still check his list of who's naughty or nice, and then he will render some old sage advice. To improve the country, we'll need to forge a blue coalition in the state of Georgia. So when the Senate is completely tied and compassion might finally be applied, and McConnell is set way off to the side, Kamala Harris will get to decide. There'll be so many changes. Oh, where to begin once the Donald is out and Biden is in. No ludicrous tweets that border on libel, no lies and fake news, nor an upside down Bible. Our language has changed, and it really amazes. The COVID has given us many new phrases. A new one that's just a piece to resistance. We all know what is meant by social distance. And if you don't wear a mask, you're considered quite odd, and we all strive to form a quarantine pod. There's super spreader and contact tracing and aerosol droplets, all sounding quite bracing. And when you're really fed up and act like a meanie, pour yourself a chilled quarantini. But we've all learned, I think, when bleak times surround us, how family and friends are really what ground us. Despite all the bad news that filled 2020, we saw goodness and kindness and heroes aplenty. Medical workers who risked as they cared, and first responders who never seemed scared, and those who stocked food and TP on shelves, fulfilling our needs as though they were elves. It was a good year too for the human heart. Our concern for others received a fresh start. And that's why Santa will always appear, spreading love and joy and lots of good cheer. He needs us to do the things that are right. Then he'll say, "Oh, Merry Christmas, and to all a good night." May we join together in singing "Angels We Have Heard on High," 2 verses, "Angels We Have Heard on High." as is our tradition, we have a Christmas Eve story tonight. And the funny thing is, when we were all gathered in the church, all these many wonderful years together, we never, during the story, were able to get the lighting just right. You know, we'd have just a little bit of light, which cast this huge shadow behind me, which scared all the little ones. And then we went with too much brightness, and they said, now that just ruined the effect of the story. And so from year to year, we went from so much light to less light, and we tried and tried in vain. But this year, all of you get to control your own lighting. And so set your lights for what you think is the right amount of illumination for a Christmas Eve story. And also at the end of the story, when we sing our traditional Silent Night, that'll be a time to grab a candle. I actually went by the church, and I hope most of you did, picked up a little candle with this great wax holder that we won't burn ourselves. And so I will take a light from the chalice, and yeah, and just I want you just to figure, if you need to go get a candle now, please do so, because you've got just a few moments before we start the story. Let me tell you, the story is written by one of the foremost writers and storytellers in his own right, and that is Robert Fulghum. Robert Fulghum served as a UU minister in a suburban church of Seattle, and it was a town called Edmonds, right on Puget Sound. He was there for 18 years, left in 1984. And since that time, he's just been busy being famous. I mean, he's an extraordinarily famous minister, and he never really stopped being a minister, but he went on to great heights in writing. He's translated into something like 20 or 25 languages. So I thought I'd read the story tonight in Swedish. That's no. I'll read it in English. I think I'm going to read it in English. So if we're all set for the story, let's begin as Robert Fulghum reminisces quite a little bit here. He says, one year at a Christmas Eve service, I planned to read an old story from medieval France about a wandering juggler who happened into a monastery in deep winter and asked for refuge. You may know this tale. It's called Our Lady's Juggler. The story says that the monks were busy making gifts to lay before the high altar of the monastery chapel in honor of the Virgin Mary. They believed that if she was pleased, her statue would shed a tear of compassion for humanity. But when the gifts were presented at the Feast of the Nativity, the statue did not respond. In the middle of the night, the juggler, who had thought he had no gift worthy to offer to the Virgin Mary, went into the chapel alone and juggled before the statue to the very limit of his skills. To make a long story short, angels sang, the statue did indeed shed a tear, and the baby Jesus in her arms smiled, because the juggler had given everything he had, withholding nothing in his generosity. Well, so goes the story, and you can see how its spirit could be applied to a 21st century Christmas Eve celebration. Generosity is never wasted. That's the point. All I had to do was read it. But why stop there? Why not get a real juggler to perform for the congregation to illustrate the story? And why not a little show business pizzazz for the midnight service? Why not? Well, never one to leave well enough alone, I engaged a juggler. Alas, When time for the service came, the juggler had not arrived. Not until the singing of the second carol did I see him working his way up the aisle of the church sanctuary. I barely recognized him because I had specifically asked him to wear his jester outfit, and he was not in costume. He wasn't carrying any juggling paraphernalia either. Oh, what a disappointment. No magic at midnight this year. Well, while the congregation and choir turned the corner into the last verse of "O Little Town of Bethlehem," the juggler and I held a whispered conference off to one side of the chancel. His car had been stolen. His costume and equipment were all gone. But I was not to worry. A friend had rescued him and would take him home. However, he had an idea about what to do. "Trust me," he said. "You read the story and I'll take it from there." Well, no time to argue. The carol was finished. The show must go on. I assumed that when it came time for his act, the juggler would explain his circumstances and use some odds and ends he found in the church kitchen for a short performance. A reasonable assumption. However, Christmas Eve is not noted for reasonableness. I ought to have remembered that then, as I do now. So I read the story, and the juggler stepped into the light from out of the congregation. A slim young man, wiry, athletic type, longish brown hair, black tennis shoes, jeans, green turtleneck shirt, solemn expression on his face, and only his own freckles in place of the expected makeup. So ordinary in appearance and demeanor. No tools of his trade. He smiled. An inner light animated his face. And he began his routine just as if he actually had balls and clubs and knives and scarves with him. I mean, we had all seen enough juggling to recognize what he was doing, so we could imagine what we could not actually see. But in each part of his routine, he went one step further than he had ever juggled before or we had ever witnessed. 7 balls are supposed to be the limit for a good juggler. But our man did 8, and we knew when he did it and applauded his triumph. On through 12 silk scarves in the air at once and 7 knives. We even knew when he set his torches on fire, got 8 in the air all at once and caught them without burning himself. Well, we laughed and shouted encouragement and applauded his audacious performance. We really couldn't see all of it, but we believed it. We gave him a standing ovation on Christmas Eve in church, but he wasn't done. He held up his hand for silence and motioned the congregation to sit. He was going to do an encore. He started juggling things we couldn't quite recognize. What's this? Chickens? Birds? Some kind of tree? Rings? 1 off each finger. 5. 5 gold rings? Yes, we got it. He was going to juggle everything in the 12 days of Christmas. The partridge, the pear tree, and all the rest. Impossible. But he was going to give it a try. He continued. A swan swimming, a goose, an egg. Yes, I was thinking that he would never get the maid milking the cow off the ground, but he did it. I mean, you could imagine the look on the face of the maid as, with a great heave from the juggler, she sailed up into the air. And after that, the leaping lady and dancing lord and the drum with drummer were a piece of cake. Finally, every gift was in the air, going around and around, way, way up in the air, because this was a lot of stuff to juggle. As each piece came around, we knew what it was and shouted its name as he caught it and tossed it back up again. Fantastic. Nobody had ever done or even attempted to do this before. The juggler was laughing, and the congregation cheered like a crowd at a championship game when a last-minute score won it all for the home team. Yes. Here comes the maid milking the cow again. Wait for it. Yes. The juggler suddenly stopped, clapped his hands loudly, and stood still. Nothing fell down. All parts of the 12 days of Christmas somehow disappeared into thin air. With one finger in front of his lips, he asked for silence. And silence came. We stood looking at him in awe, and he at us in awe at what we had accomplished together. It was the most powerful and meaningful moment of quiet I ever experienced on Christmas Eve. A brief sermon was supposed to follow the juggler's performance, and it did, but it was not I who spoke. Rarely, but once in a while, I have the sense to keep my mouth shut. We were all addressed by a sermon of eloquent, instructive silence. The silence in which we absorbed the power of the vision we had of the impossible event we had wished into being. The silence in which we thought about our capacity to realize things we can only imagine. Some of the most wonderful things have to first be believed to be seen, like flying reindeer and angels and a baby in a manger, like peace on earth, goodwill, hope, and joy. Real only because they must be imagined into being. And so you may ask, is this story true? Did it really happen just as I have told it? Well, yes and no. It took place, after all, a long time ago, and good memories must be polished if they are to last. Now, it could be true. It should be true, don't you think? I mean, weren't you present as a witness? You may have your own version of what happened, but we would all agree that Christmas contains lasting truth. Anything and everything is possible for those who yearn for joy. So, as our tradition, people on the first row lit their small candles from the big candle on the altar, and then passed the flame on the candles in the rows behind them, singing Silent Night. The church filled with soft, moving light. We filed out of the church into the Christmas Eve night and went home taking our light within us.
Friends, as we close our service this evening, I bring you these words by the Reverend Dr. Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flocks, the work of Christmas begins to find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among the people, to make music in the heart.
This Christmas, perhaps more than at any other Christmas in our memory, we understand the deep significance of lighting a candle in the darkness. All we need is a flicker of light to bring us hope. And when we light our candles together with others, we know that a brighter future awaits us more than we had ever dared to imagine alone. We pierce this darkness with a holy light, and love and courage then take hold of our spirit and move us forward. And thus we go forth with new strength, devoted to the love which heals all wounds and to the courage that casts out fear. As we hold our candles tonight, we know that hope will never die. Amen. David, thank you, and thank you everybody for joining us for this Christmas Eve service. I'm so used to saying Merry Christmas and drive home safely. I guess I don't have to say that this year, but just stay safe. Stay safe, all of you. So important. And rather than just shutting down, we thought it might be nice to just hang for a few minutes, unless you need to attend to Christmas Eve dinner or you have other things to do. You can hang out for a few minutes and maybe we can just say hi to each other and then continue with our Christmas Eve services. So I'm going to turn the light back on, and you may want to do the, oh, Mary, oh God. The angel has flown in unnoticed. So a chance for us to say hello, and if you need to run, just run. So yeah, let's move to a gallery view and see everybody if we can. Yeah. Hey, beautiful faces.
Thanks, David. That was wonderful.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, indeed. Merry Christmas.
Tom, Merry Christmas. And everybody else.
Happy holidays.
What are your plans for tomorrow?
Normal.
Did you find a game?
Let me see who's there.
Merry Return of the Sun, everyone.
Have a Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas from Sonia and Errol.
Okay, great. Ready to join us.
So David, we got a bass and a tenor descant going in the hymns tonight. Ann and Ron, say hi.
Merry Christmas from Texas, folks. It was a beautiful service. Thank you.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
Merry Christmas, buddy. I love you.
Yes.
Love you, J-Man. Yeah. Hey.
Merry Christmas to you all. Thanks for
Merry
doing your
Christmas.
David.
Oh, it's usually no, we're not muted. We're not muted. That's
Our
And with all due
dying, I
respect,
better. Yeah.
with all due respect to the service, the best part was scrolling through everybody's faces throughout the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You can do
That was
that?
wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you.
Use those arrows.
Goodbye.
Merry
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry
Christmas.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Holidays.
Thank you, David. Beautiful music.
Christmas, everybody. Merry Christmas, y'all.
To see all your
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Bye, Mom. Hi, Angie.
This church has the best services. Absolutely.
Thank you, Reverend.
Good night.
Hi, Les.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
We love you, Mary and Tom. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everyone from Tucson.
Oh, hey, Louis.
Hi, Louis.
Holidays. Happy holidays from downtown Salt Lake.
Hi, Cammie. Glad you got your shot.
Yes. I got my shot and no soreness even today. This is like 3 days after the vaccine.
Wow. Good news.
No, I've been pretty pleased. No problem at all with the vaccine.
Cammy, just wait till the second one.
Oh, I know that. That's January 12th. You haven't had your second one yet, Dot, have you?
Want me to end this for you since the.
I'm last on the list for first one, so.
Okay.
I loved hearing the music, the organ music. I have to say, I loved hearing that. So thank you, David.
And of course, the toy piano.
Yeah.
The piano's the best.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.
Second that, Robin.
Everyone. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Nice, Stephen Camille.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you, David.
Thanks, everyone who put this on.
Nice to see everybody.
Mhm. Glad to see everybody doing so well.
Merry Christmas. I think I hear somebody up on our roof. I think I gotta go and help them in.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas, everyone. So good to see you.
Okay, we'll go.
Yes. Thank you for a beautiful service. Love to all.
Hi, Lisa and John.
Yeah, Martha. Moran.
It is.
Good to see you all. This was so beautiful. Thanks for this connection tonight. It meant the world to all.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's nice just to hear your voice and say hi,
Yes.
and just to watch and look.
Mhm.
Good night, everybody. Merry Christmas. Thank you so much for a beautiful service.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Good night, Andy. And Marcia.
And Marcia's there. Yeah, and there you
Oh, okay.
Want to sign off?
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Lewis. Good night.
Merry Christmas, Tom and Mary.
Good night.
Merry Christmas back at you.
Thank
You guys know I didn't.
Monica.
Hi, Monica. Hey,
Thank
Becky and
you.
Jim.
Thank you, Tom and Monica.
Thank you, Lewis.
Oh, that was lovely. And,
Well, we're down among the faithful. Anybody want to do a final shout out? Not a shout out, a final shout out before we say goodnight? Ye faithful? Anybody?
Good night.
I'm good.
Okay.
Stay
Good night.
safe, Good.
Good night, all.
Good
No.
night.